Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic episode.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of Gotham Knights. It was called Belly of the Beast. And at the beginning, we find a couple of thugs looking over a bunch of guns in the trunk of a car when Carrie, Turner, and Harper show up and kick their asses, which was kind of funny because you're seeing the shot from the perspective of being inside the trunk. And so what you see in the beginning is you see them leaning over the trunk kind of like this, but then you see them just go flying woo, 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 as they get their asses kicked, which was pretty cool. After they kicked said criminals' asses, they tied them up and left a note on them saying, courtesy of the Gotham Knights. And when the police show up, Cullen manages to get there with a getaway vehicle and the three of them escape. Cullen then shows the rest of the team that the few Court of Owls watches that they have in their possession seem to have some weird functionalities that cause the hands to go all wonky, seemingly at random. Harvey takes Cressida to a safe house and tells her that he doesn't mind helping her since she's come to him saying that her life is in danger, but he's going to need names and other info on the court in exchange. Harvey's opponent is recovering at home, meanwhile, and he finds one of Harvey's cufflinks in his bedroom on the nightstand. While trying to figure out exactly what it is that the watches are doing, Turner remembers what Joe Chill told him about how the key to finding the court was watches all the time. And the gang then figures out that the watch hands are giving longitude and latitude information, which is the location of a get-together the court is going to have, one of their galas or balls. Stephanie gets a call to let her know that a prescription is ready for her, but she didn't get a prescription for herself from any doctor, meaning that, of course, it was for her mother in Stephanie's name. The mayor's opponent goes on TV blasting Harvey over Turner still being on the loose. The gang decides to 3D print some owl masks and infiltrate the court gathering, but they only have enough time to print 2 masks, so only 2 of them are going to go in. Harvey's mistress tells him that she thinks her husband knows they've been meeting between the sheets, as it were. Duella and Turner get all dressed up to go to the gala, and Turner is clearly taken with Duella in a dress and wig before they have a conversation about their mothers. Harvey goes to see Cressida at the safe house, but it would seem she took off or was taken. But he finds a tape recorder with a note on it that says, "Play me," at which point he plays the tape. And there's some weird music as the room goes all wonky, which I think means that someone is in control of when he goes into Two-Face mode, which is triggered by an audio signal, which I've suspected since he got that phone call the day that he threw the car keys into the water and we didn't get to hear really what was on the other end, except I think some music. Stephanie goes to see her dad at the set of his game show and finds him making a joke about spoilers for his TV show, which is funny because in the comics, Stephanie is the hero known as the spoiler. But once she gets him in his office, she confronts him about her mother, being out of control, but he basically blows her off. Turner and Duella, meanwhile, successfully infiltrate the court gala, which is so very eyes wide shut. Yeah. A court spokesperson gets up on stage and calls everyone's attention to the fact that they now have recovered the map that Alan Wayne hid from them, which apparently leads to something called Electrum, which is, it would seem, an immortality granting substance, possibly the one that was referenced earlier as being what made it so that the Talon could live so long, which the court ran out of when they last used it on him. Stephanie confronts her mother, who is drinking and pilling at the same time, and she manages to get some of her pills away from her, which causes her mother to fly into a rage. And I'm not sure at this point why they're focusing on this plot line, but maybe it will play dividends in the future. I don't know. Maybe it will have something to do with why she becomes the spoiler. I don't know. But anyway, that happens. Harper learns that Electrum apparently came to Earth in a meteorite and was discovered by a sort of mad scientist named Dr. Leviticus, who in DC Comics is a Romanian necromancer who pioneered the use of Electrum to revive the dead, which is fantastic. Turner and Duella end up fighting with some Court of Owls goons when they go into a part of the building that they weren't supposed to be in when they go to steal the map, which they're able to do. But as they're on their way out, the Talon shows up with Cressida in tow, apparently against her will. When the Talon is about to kill her, Turner goes to step in, and Duella doesn't really understand why he would after she betrayed him and Bruce and is part of the whole owl thing. He says it's because it's what his father would do. And then he decapitates the goddamn Talon. Holy shitballs. Was that awesome? Not that I know exactly where he was hiding his sword, but I'll let it go. I'm going to let it go because it was an awesome moment. He tells Duella to run as he tries to escort Cressida out. And when Duella runs into trouble, Carrie, aka Robin, comes in and takes out the guys who she came up against with some batarangs. Turner drags Cressida into the woods and questions her, at which point she says she was going to turn the court into Harvey out of guilt for what she did to he and Bruce. And she also explains that Bruce's will was changed such that the people of Gotham would get all his money when he died, which would have stopped the court because it would have eliminated crime in Gotham because there was no more poverty, or at least significantly reduced it. And it's interesting because this is the whole reason people think Turner murdered his father, because the will was changed to cut him out, which would seem to be true, but of course we know he didn't kill his father anyway. Turner asks her for the name of the leader of the court, but the court members show up and kill her, apparently without Turner being able to see them coming, even though there were like 12 of them. They weren't single file, and he was looking right in their direction. They then grab Turner, and when Duella very much wants to go back in to get him, she and the team clash because the team is reluctant to immediately rescue him because they figure they'll all get killed, being that they're not prepared for that fight at the moment, and that there then wouldn't be anybody to take down the court, as well as that they're not likely going to kill Turner right away, and that they have time to regroup so that they can improve their chances of successfully rescue him. And she bases that on the fact that the guy says he has plans for Turner, which they could hear over the comms before the owl leader guy crushed them. We then see that said owl court leader guy is Harry's mayoral opponent, which is a heck of a twist, actually. Before the episode ends, Harvey wakes up in some kind of an abandoned factory with a bloody Court of Owl mask on and blood on his hands. So I continue to like this show. I thought this was a really good episode. The vibe that they, managed to create at the Court of Owls gala was very chilling and creepy and just befitting the whole Court of Owls mythos that I'm aware of up to this point, from like the animated series and the Gotham Knights video game that was out earlier this year that I played. I like that we keep seeing how Harvey is obviously being controlled by someone else who is able to mind control him with audio triggers. I'm happy that they are seemingly showing Duella and Turner catching feelings for each other. This episode isn't the first time they've done that. I think that's cool. I like Duella a lot. I think she's, damaged goods, but I think she's a person with feelings like anyone else. I don't think she's a sociopath. I think she likes Turner. I think she wants to do good. She wants to be good. And so I would be happy if they got together, because obviously that's what he's all about, being, doing the right thing and being good. And I think they really drove home that she cares about him when she wanted to go rescue him very vehemently, which I think the rest of the team did too, by the way, but tactically they didn't think it was the right moment to do it, which really upset her. Though I think ultimately she's going to understand they were right. But I thought it was cool that she was so adamant to go rescue him, because up to this point, she would have just walked away when the other option was risking her neck for someone else. So I thought that was cool. There was a moment where it kind of seems like Harper is warming up to Stephanie, though not with Stephanie there, but like she was talking with Harper, and it kind of seemed like she is starting to at least respect Stephanie where she didn't before. So I think that's cool. And then, like I said, I thought last week or the week before that they might sort of be catching feelings for each other. I don't know if that's just me, but I think that would be cool as well, because, girl lovers. And, I think the show continues to be good. They've kidnapped Harper now, so we're going to see where that goes. That's going to be, a plot point. We know who the leader of the court is. and he's running for mayor, which makes it dicey as heck if he wins. So I think it's a good show. Now, when they make the connection between what the Watchers are doing and longitude and latitude, I was like, okay, again, a tiny bit far fetched that they would figure that out as quickly as they did. Because again, they're high school kids and they really had no indication that that's what it was. It just sort of kind of dawns on them because Turner says, well, the watches are the way to find the court. So they started thinking in terms of how the watches might point to their location. And then from that, they said, well, there are three hands in hours, minutes, and seconds. And that's how you do longitude and latitude and map. So I didn't think it was a natural connection. And I thought it was a bit of a leap to make. And I didn't think that a person would make that leap as easily as they did. So it struck me as a little, but it's a TV show, folks. And these people, again, in the comics, are heroes in the vein of Batman and Robin, who are detective characters. You know, in the comics, it's Batgirl, Nightwing, you know, Robin, who all are, were under Batman's wing at one point, under his tutelage. They specialize in being detectives. So that's how it is in the comics. They figure these things out just like that in the comics. They're the Gotham Knights. It's hard to remember that because they're not in costume. They never wear costumes. But these kids are the Gotham Knights. So of course they figured that out, even though it's a little bit wonky. But I didn't think it was terribly wonky. It was just a little bit wonky. And it's a TV show and it's suspension of disbelief and you go with it. And it was cool that that's what the watches were and that that's how the court tells their members where the meetings are by sending a signal to the watches. So it didn't bother me. I mean, I noticed it, but it didn't bother me. I know some folks don't like the acting on the show. I happen to think everybody's pretty good, Duella especially. The one person I didn't think was doing a good job at the beginning was the guy who's playing Cullen, but I think, or the person I should say who's playing Cullen, but I think, is he a trans man? Are they a trans man? I don't remember. The person playing Cullen is turning in better performances as the season goes on, I think. I didn't find their acting to be stellar in the beginning. It was kind of poopy, but I think they've improved as the episodes have gone on. And, I think some of that may have to do with it takes time for a cast to gel and it takes time for an actor to get comfortable in the skin and shoes of a character. And so sometimes when you see their first few outings as a character, they're not giving a performance that, comes in above the most basic reading of the lines they've been given. But then as time goes on, they improve because they're figuring out the character. So I think that's what's happening in the case of that particular actor. I think everybody else does a decent job. And, for what it's worth, I've been in a number of plays as an actor. I've been in a number of independent films. If you really want to know which ones, you can look up Barry P. Cook on IMDb. They were micro budget horror films. I have my associate's degree in theater and a bachelor's degree in communications, which involved courses on creative writing and television production. So Martin Scorsese, I'm not, but standing next to the next guy at the bus stop, I know a little bit more about writing and acting than the next guy at the bus stop does. So take that for what it's worth in terms of how much my opinion is worth versus that of someone who tells you these people can't act and that the writing is bad. It's not true. And there are a lot of those people. So I'm not singling out anyone. Anyway, the show's off for a week. So we won't get an episode next week. Therefore, you won't have a review from me next week. But I will be back to review the next episode once it airs. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.